Hello, Saratoga. Welcome to the Saratoga podcast. I'm Dan D. Federicis. I'm here with my friend Adam Israel. Robin Dalton cannot make it this week. We are doing a pretty good job of sticking to the lunch hour on Wednesday afternoons. Unfortunately, for all three of us, sometimes life gets in the way, and now we had to postpone it till Thursday today. So we're here, and we're going to get back to our Wednesday schedule certainly next week. Adam, how are you doing?
Good. And I think it's a good thing we pushed it back a day because I just got back from the announcement on what formerly known as First Night is going to look like in Saratoga.
I won't steal your thunder, but one of our past guests is spearheading that, correct?
Yeah. Robert Millis, who's been on the show, and I won't go too much detail because as we get closer, I'm sure he'd love to come on, and of course he'll be invited on to give us all the details. But it's interesting. It's a whole new concept. So I'll talk a little bit about what we did, and then what was proposed of what's going to look like this year. First Night was actually a trade name by a not-for-profit out of Boston, and so this First Night was not something that Saratoga came up with. It was put on by the Arts Center, not necessarily the city. And it had, because it was under this not-for-profit, it had rules like you couldn't have venues that served alcohol. And so the city kind of felt that outlived its usefulness. And then COVID hit in the last 2 years. I don't think there's been anything. So the city, and they gave Commissioner Dylan Moran from Accounts a lot of credit for really spearheading this and getting this back in the city. Todd Shimkis from the Chamber was there, was at this press release. And essentially what this is going to be called now is the Saratoga's New Year's Fest. It's going to be about 20 different acts. Now, they're going to be more condensed in the downtown area. They're going to be at places like Putnam Den, Pardon Glass, Inn at Saratoga, with a headliner at the city center. And the headliner is actually three bands. And two of the three I've actually heard of, the Samples. I don't know if you know them. They were kind of a dorm room rock when I was in college.
Okay, say the name of the act again.
The Samples.
Okay.
And then
I'm feeling old.
Yeah. That's kind of their 15 minutes was kind of right in line with my college 15 minutes. So it's I remember them. But the Cowboy Junkies are going to be playing. It's another band they announced.
I've certainly heard of them. He's got national acts.
Yeah, so that's what they're trying to do. They're trying, and each year with success, behold, more success, trying to get different, new bands, bigger bands.
Build all of it, right?
Yeah. And so it's they're going to have, it's going to be stretched out over Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. New Year's Eve is on a Saturday. So Friday, they're going to have kind of a pre-party at Putnam Den. Saturday, they're going to have kids events, which I thought was pretty cool. Puppet shows, dancing, kids karaoke throughout the city. So I thought that was really neat. And then Sunday, this is one thing I don't know if this is going to work or not. Traditionally, there was a firecracker run that was done, or the firecracker
5K, First Night 5K.
First Night 5K.
Yeah.
Instead of doing that New Year's Eve day, they're going to do that New Year's Day. And so I don't know how many people are going to be in shape to run 5Ks New Year's Day, but overall, I thought he had some good ideas. I'm excited for first night, or the night formerly known as First Night, for New Year's Fest in Saratoga. It's welcome back. Oh, one other thing is there's going to be fireworks again. So around 6:30 on Saturday, there's going to be fireworks. So kind of slowly returning back to normal after the COVID years.
Rob, let's give credit where credit is due. He's got a big vision here. I think the 5K will work because turkey trots right after the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, which is a big night out. There's different people that run 5Ks. Some of them, like me, I don't get out much at night. I used to run 5Ks. Maybe this will give me a kick in the butt to get back into shape so I can trudge my way through a 5K on New Year's Eve weekend. I love this is big thinking. This is really cool. This will draw people. This will draw the track crowd from downstate and so forth. Hey, where are we going to go for New Year's? Saratoga. I applaud him. Hope this works out as well as he envisions. And this is great. Good for you for attending. I could not attend. It was a press conference, correct, Adam?
Yes, it was a press conference held at Putnam Place. And you're right. One thing they talked about, Commissioner Moran got up and talked a little bit about, and I remember this. I remember because I worked in Albany at the time, so this must have been the early 2000s. First night started in the Capital District, started in Albany, and then some years later, Saratoga kind of took it over and put up First Night Albany out of business. So there's certainly the potential here for big things. Robert's he's making a lot of aggressive moves, but they're really big thinking and looking forward to it. And yeah, hoping it all pans out. One other thing he mentioned, and again, we'll have to get him on the show to talk about these things. Robert Mills, I think, really considers himself a music guy, and he loves music. And I'm not a music guy. So not music guys. I love covers. I love bands I know. I love music I know. He really put a focus on getting kind of big bands playing their old music. So the two things I hope is, one, I think they said like 20 to 25 different bands. With 20, 25 different bands, I'm sure there are ways to work in some of our local musicians, because we got a bunch of them, a bunch of really talented local musicians.
Yes, we do. And they need to make a living.
They need to make a living. Yeah. And so, and the music scene in Saratoga is so cool. And so I just want to make sure that these things, I guess these ideas are not mutually exclusive of, bands play their own music, kind of funky, indie music. And then just the good old Saratoga, men and women who play our local scenes, the other 364 nights a year. So, anyway, it was so far so good. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, that's great. I am too. And unfortunately, that's only a few months away, because I think the first day of fall starts at, I believe, something like 9:00 tonight, or maybe it was last night. I'm losing track. But we are essentially in fall, as if the cold weather and wet weather outside doesn't signify that. Good for him. And I love that he spread it out. Obviously, the timing this year works great, that it falls on a weekend. I love that there's kids events during the day, because let's face it, the former first night, it was kind of a one-shot deal. The 5K, I ran it one year. I think it started at like 5:30 or something. And then at midnight, everything's over. So you get about 6-7 hours to just cram everything in. And the way the calendar falls this year, you don't have to cram it in. And there's going to be some kid-friendly events. That's near and dear to me, of course, probably near and dear to you as well, Robin as well. So I think that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Well, good. Hey, we have our first guest is ready with us here. And let me introduce, hang on, bring her in here. I'm doing multifunction here. Abby Tegnelia, CEO. Hi, Abby, CEO of Saratoga Living. And Saratoga Living, 6-8 years ago, was just Saratoga Living, the magazine. It is so much more now. Abby, I don't know how when you sleep, because you've got a lot going on. We're pretty excited to have you here. You've got a couple things to talk about. And I don't know if I want to show everybody the new issue. I hope I'm not stealing your thunder here, of Saratoga Living. It is available out now. It's available online if you can't get to the places where they give it out for free. But it is available online at saratogaliving.com. And Abby, how are you doing? And can you start telling us about some of the exciting things you got going on?
Sure. Well, as you just said, that is our fall issue, and today is the first day of fall. So there we go. It is our best of everything issue. So all of our readers voted on their favorite types of restaurants and a lot of things like that. And so all of the winners are in there, and we only do local businesses. So very, very excited to be able to showcase that in our fall issue. Our cover subject was Carson Kressley. A lot of people our age might remember him from the original Queer Eye, and now he's on RuPaul's Drag Race. He's amazing. He grew up around horse farms, loves horses. They've been in his life his whole life, and he loves Saratoga. We shot him right at the National Museum of Racing and Hall of Fame, and we did a huge event with Miss Scarlett and the museum in July, and we're hoping to make that a yearly thing. We had a great time with him.
That's great. I was a fan. Oh, go Adam. Go.
I was going to say Miss Scarlett being the boutique and not the person, correct?
That's right. Well, Scarlett herself was there. She did a huge fashion show. That was sort of the focal point of the party. It was a really, really great time.
Yeah.
I wanted to tell you, I got one slightly negative thing to say here. You got all these categories with the best of. Where is the best podcast, Abby? Come on. What's that?
I know. So our other magazine, our sister magazine, Capital Region Living, has a very exhaustive list for their besties. And so we have done an A to Z guide. So every year the categories change a little bit. A to Z, there's only 26. And every year I get at least 10 people going, what about my category?
I'm just teasing, but Adam and I will lobby for you for podcast.
Yeah, until there's a second podcast in town, Dan, then we really got to think about that.
Well, Dan has a second podcast, doesn't he?
Yeah, the horse racing podcast. When do Adam and I get on the cover? Come on, we're handsome, we're stylish. This is an off the rack Gap shirt. It's actually iron.
Dan, she's got to sell copies here. Come on.
It is free.
All right, there we go.
We have our Substack, though, also. It's kind of our after-hours thing. Since we are 6 times a year, sometimes people don't want to wait 2 months for kind of the insider info, what's going on around town. So we do have a Substack. It's 3 times a week, and Dan was the star of it last week. And we are planning to do something on local podcasts soon. So stick around.
Abby, was there in the best of off the type? And I know sometimes I put you on the spot, but is there anything any surprises in there? Anything that kind of hidden gems that you like? Oh, I thought this was a good place, but any takeaway from this where it just kind of jumped out from the pages?
Some of the new people that showed up. I mean, we had a new business category. Bocage won the Champagne Bar, and they have been a great partner of ours since they opened. So we were excited to see that. The Kayak Shack, I'm not sure if they've ever won anything. We did a new category this year. It was kind of a quality time category, meaning family friendly, something just different to do that, wasn't a restaurant or bar. So it was good to see them in there as well. And then, of course, a lot of our favorites. Lifestyles won. They did a really great video yesterday on Facebook. So shout out to them. Ruin Realty, a lot of really great people won.
Yeah. Real quick, I got real quick story about the Kayak Shack. About 5 years ago in 2017, I lived in the Caribbean. And we were hit with 2 Category 5 hurricanes in 2 weeks. And the owner of the Kayak Shack, of the marina there, Bo, I don't know if you know Bo or not, but it's his children, I believe, run it now. But he came down, and I never met him before. And I had a house with an extra bedroom and extra car, and we were roommates for like 2 months. And he was just fixing houses the whole time. So it was,
wow,
yeah. So it's great to see that they run a great business over there. I've been there, but they're good business and good people over at Kayak Shack. So
our next issue, if you can believe it, we're already talking about the first day of fall, is our holiday issue, and it revolves around giving back, that whole thing. And Adam, we're hoping that you're going to be a part of it this year. I don't know if you got my email, and maybe you could also email some information on Bo, because that sounds really great.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to, and I will recheck my email. I'm not the best at email.
I said something along the lines of congratulations. So open your emails, Adam.
I want to jump back to the issue because the Carson Kressley article, people, you should get this and read it. I didn't know what I was getting into. Maybe I was a little cynical going in. I didn't realize his history with horses. To this day, he just bought a show horse. And he had some really great, I'm going to read half a paragraph here because I really enjoyed this. He's saying, as a 10-year-old after dinners, he grew up on a farm in rural Pennsylvania. He says, as a 10-year-old after dinner, sitting out with them, meeting the horses, of course, munching hay all around you, like 20 or 30 ponies. It sounds like an after-school special and very sad, but it was actually such a wonderful way to grow up. It's always something that makes me feel at home and at ease. I tell this story that there's nothing more relaxing than being on top of a horse when you're trying not to die. You must be in that moment and paying attention to them. You can't be thinking about your mortgage payment or drama at work or a speeding ticket you just got. You're only thinking about you and the horse and that partnership. It's a fantastic way to disconnect and have a little mental health break. Oh my God, was that powerful? I mean, that was helpful to me. I want to get on top of horse. I used to ride horses as a kid. I haven't done it because I'm an adult and I'm boring. And shame on me. I mean, he inspired me Folks, read that whole article.
He's so great. That shows two of his best qualities. One, his true love of horses and taking mental health breaks and taking care of yourself and just being a down-to-earth, really great guy. And then number two, how he can talk in ways that are really approachable to the normal person. He came from Ralph Lauren, one of the most prestigious advertising campaigns in the world. And he ended up becoming a makeover guy because he could take fashion and make it approachable for a normal guy. That's how the whole show started and his whole thing. And he still does makeovers to this day. So even on RuPaul's Drag Race, you're kind of rooting for people who may have had a hard time. And he makes high fashion super approachable. So I feel like his quotes were just great and really showcased that.
Great. Will he be here next year, do you think? I don't want to hold you to it.
We are hoping so. We are hoping to make it a yearly event. He said yes, but, the hoopla of the event, he said absolutely. So we'll see.
Oh, terrific. You've got, like I said, you've got a lot of balls in the air. You've got something else going on this weekend, don't you?
Yes. I came rushing home today from the tents for the motor car auction, the Auto Museum's yearly auction. It's going to be amazing for the first time ever. Saratoga Living is hosting a little VIP moment in the back corner. So right in the middle of the action, you can hear everything. I don't know if you're relaxing on one of the plush couches, you'll be able to see over everyone's heads, but you come in and out, tons of snacks, and we've got coffee and tea and water and beer all day, and some sort of bubbly or wine all day. We're serving lunch. Bocage is doing the tea sandwiches and some treats and a whole huge setup for lunch. And at lunch there will also be tequila and whiskey tasting. The tequila is One with Life. Right here from Saratoga. Time to get ready in the morning. You can get your hair and makeup done. Complexions will be there. Just a whole other thing. A rest area. We'll have a bunch of magazines, not just Saratoga Living. And it's going to be really fun. So it's our first time ever. So come and see us.
How does somebody get access to that?
Yeah. Do you need a ticket for this or what's?
Yeah. So it is a ticket. On our website, SaratogaLiving.com, it's the very first story. It's on Eventbrite, so you can always search Saratoga Living. It's on the Motor Cars website as well. If you buy your ticket ahead of time, the discount code expires Friday, I believe. It's early bird 30. The price of the ticket to the regular auction is 30. So if you've already bought your ticket, we're doing the early bird off.
Wow.
And this is the museum, the Automobile Museum's auction, correct?
That's right. And when you do arrive, I know a lot of people do wait and buy their tickets there. You can come by. You can buy them at the door.
But it's not at SPAC or at the museum this year. It's at the casino, correct?
No hotel. Yeah, back in those soccer fields behind it. The cars have already started rolling in. The tents are already there. It's really exciting. So we've got 2 more days to finish that up, and it's going to be an amazing weekend.
That's an exciting new venue for them, for Carly Connors and the Auto Museum. I mean, this is getting bigger every year. Now they're doing it in Naples. My goodness, Saratoga Living and the Saratoga Auto Museum are just growing and doing more and more things. That's pretty great. Real quick, can you tell viewers here where to get copies of this? Some rough, I know you can't list them all, but.
Yeah, we try to keep the boutiques and everything around Broadway stocked, but definitely Price Choppers, Hannaford's, Market 32s usually have them. Uncommon Grounds has a pretty steady stack of them. They tend to go fast, so we try to keep refilling everybody. But but the grocery stores are probably your best bet.
And for those that live out of town and don't want to read online, some people just I'm old school. I like reading paper product. You still have subscriptions, correct?
We do have subscriptions, and to your point, whenever we survey our readers, I think 40-something% keep theirs for a year or more as coffee table books. So you're right. People do still love the print magazines. So I hope people will continue to support us. You can absolutely subscribe and be sent right to your house, of course.
Great. And one last time, the VIP tent, where people will go to Saratoga Living to if they buy tomorrow to get the discount.
Because the Eventbrite URLs are so long, right? But if you know the Motor Cars website, a lot of people, they have their own website, the auction, it says VIP experience. On our website, SaratogaLiving.com, it's the very first story. that we have a tent for the first time.
SaratogaLiving.com will get you there.
Correct. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Great. This was, did we cover the things going on here? The new issue, and you got another issue coming out quickly, the holiday issue. I know that because I'm peripherally involved with that, right? And got to follow up with you on that. And excellent. Adam, anything more for Abby?
No, Abby, and just saying, a lot of different people do a lot of neat things to make this community special, and I think Saratoga Living kind of is one of those things. So we appreciate you. We kind of this local business, and we're happy to have you on anytime because it's great keeping informed of what's going on in Saratoga. So anyway, thank you, Abby.
Yeah, thank you for supporting local journalism. It really does matter. That means a lot to us. And yes, we'll come on whenever you want. Just let me know.
All right.
See you this weekend.
Take care, Abby. Thank you.
All right, Abby. It's good
Bye-bye.
seeing you.
Okay, wow, we are moving here. We're gonna shift. We start off with the new New Year's Eve event because that was fresh. You were literally coming from that press conference, and then we got Abby on. We're going to shift to City Hall, and some important events there. They had a meeting Tuesday night, and what they did is they set an October 18th hearing on the new version of the aggressive panhandling law that's been proposed by Commissioner Montanino. And I did attend the city council meeting Tuesday night, at least part of it. And I did, most of what I attended were the public comments that centered around that proposed law. And there must have been at least a dozen people that spoke against it. And all of them except one that I saw were strongly against it. There was a lot of familiar activists, if you will, that were there speaking against it, and they were speaking harshly. I don't want to say they were disrespectful, but they were kind of a determined group, almost pointing fingers at city council. Whereas a year ago, we heard Saratoga, the false accusation. You and I have maintained this, that it's a racist city. What I heard that night was, you people are privileged. You people are comfortable in your nice homes. And the reason I bring that up is this issue is building on itself. The activists are getting energized from it. Like I said, there must have been at least 10 or 11 that spoke against it. The one that spoke, he didn't really even speak for it, but he told a story how he was assaulted in the alley next to Putnam Market. And the group started actually interrupting him and giving him negative comments. And Mayor Kim correctly stepped in and said, hey, you spoke and you didn't get interrupted. Let him speak. And they did ultimately. And but this October 18th meeting, I think, is going to be long. I think it's going to be spirited. There's going to be a lot of energy in the room, a lot of passion, a lot of emotion. So that is what's coming in the first half of October, right up to our October 18th meeting. Adam, I know you're familiar with this issue. Well, a lot of us are familiar with this issue.
Yeah, so you're exactly right. Where this ordinance to kind of curb this aggressive panhandling, as it's being called, it was brought up at this last city council meeting. Now, I will say this: that Mayor Kim at the beginning of the meeting did step in and say, this is not the public forum. People can, you have your 2 minutes to talk about what you'd like in public comment. But October 18th will be the meeting that is a special public hearing meeting about this issue. And one thing I think we can all admit it, there is a problem. There's a homelessness problem in Saratoga. Anybody who's been over to some of our parking garages have seen this. Now, once we get off that there is a problem, the solution, the ideas divide very quickly and very radically, right? To the throw them all in jail, to feed them all, give them all their needs. And I will say this: I think first, as far as this ordinance goes, like you were saying, Dan, there's this big activist, and they tend to leave the politics far left, who show up for everything. That they're very good at mobilizing and showing up. I know there's people in the city who have issues with this the homelessness and the aggressive panhandling in the city. They didn't show up. I would say, regardless of what side of this you're on, if you feel passionate about this, one side or the other, you got to show up October 18th. personally, I think that the city has to do something, Dan, don't you? I mean, it's out of control.
Absolutely. I'm not sure if what they're doing is the right answer. And I'm not being critical when I say that, because I'm just sort of thinking out loud, in that some of this duplicates what's already in state laws. And it's just sort of giving energy to a movement that's been largely quiet this year. And again, I'm not saying we shouldn't do the right thing just because there's some negativity out there against it. I just don't know if this is the right thing, but I'm not going to be critical because they're trying to do something. They're not sitting on their hands. This may end up being the wrong thing. I don't know. But yeah, so something's got to be addressed.
Yeah, and I'll say this. So maybe a month or two ago, Mayor Kim had a symposium on the homelessness in Saratoga and the issue. And you had 6 or 7 groups represented there, from the Salvation Army. I think the Franklin Community Center was there. SOS, I think, was there. But you had 6 or 7 groups that day in and day out work with the homelessness population in Saratoga. To a person, they said the solution is not to give people panhandlers money or food, is to work with the agencies that give the panhandlers their basic necessities. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, I don't think anybody disagrees with the fact of people, if they can't feed themselves, we as a society must feed them. If they can't house themselves, we as a society must find housing for them. I think we all agree that we have certain society responsibilities. It's how we get there and how we get them to accept the responsibility. And the example given to me from one of the groups at this meeting is that if you're hungry and you need and you need food, you need a sandwich, this group, they'll give you a sandwich, but in turn you have to talk to somebody. That's it. You can go and have lunch and there's a licensed counselor there and just talk to that licensed counselor. And maybe that's the talk that puts you on your road, your path to recovery, your path to, becoming a functioning member of the local community, but something different than just going to the parking garages on weekends and just giving people, feeding people without any, giving them these necessities that they can get elsewhere, but they don't want that, but that require something of them.
Yes, And Mayor Kim spoke up on that, and I appreciate it. I think you were the one that brought it up on our last show that Mayor Kim disagreed with them, and he is left-leaning politics, but good for him that he challenged that notion that you should just simply go there and do things. I work near the Woodlawn Avenue garage, and there are at least 20 people outside there when I walk by it, and from what I understand, people that know more than me are telling me some of them are simply not homeless. They get in a bus and they go to a home, and this is something they do. It's something they do to fill time. It's something they do for a gig. It's something they do for their social contact. You walk past them, it's a little society there. They're talking, they're interacting. And so it's a very, now some are absolutely destitute with everything from substance abuse to mental health issues and so forth. And they literally don't have a home. I recognize that. I'm always trying to balance, love for my fellow human being with the reality that, boy, this is not good for the city. This congregating of large people. This is a city that thrives on more so than tourism dollars. It goes beyond that. I love Saratoga for what it is. I don't want to look down upon anybody, and I don't. I hope I don't. But I can still give an honest assessment of what I see going on. And some of these people, they appear homeless and so forth, but I think it's something they do, not necessarily something they're destitute and fall into.
Yeah, one thing I'll say, growing up in Saratoga, is I remember growing up here, there were 3 or 4 homeless people, and you knew who they were, and they became kind of in their own sense part of the society, right? And I think that's kind of changed where Saratoga now, because of the prosperity of the city, is becoming just like we attract people who like horse racing. I think, and people will deny this, but I think because of the services we provide in this city and the wealth of the city, we provide, we attract, people who are both homeless and out panhandling. And the problem is the 2 issues is, one, this becomes a spot problem. right? So the home, when we say if they're under the Woodlawn Bridge, there are Saratoga's, so if they come from a bus from city X, Y, or Z, once they become to Saratoga, they're Saratoga's problem, right? So we are inheriting. People will argue this point, but these are not. The large number of these people are transient to Saratoga. They're not Saratogians who found themselves in this situation. And the other problem with this population, if that's unchecked, is there's a higher percentage of people with antisocial disorders, schizophrenia, drug addictions. So these populations have a higher, just by the numbers, there are a higher percentage of people who could potentially pose a harm to society in these groups. And you'll have the people who support these groups say they're not dangerous, they're not, but that's just not the case. I mean, we're to the point now. I know people who've been assaulted, who've been robbed, by this transient group. So they're not harmless as they're made out to be all the time. And again, Dan, I think you and I have the same feelings on this, right? I mean,
yeah, I think you and I are trying to strike a balance, right? And as we should.
Again, we should reach out, at some point to somebody who disagrees with us on this, because I know a lot of people feel fashion that you should just go and feed them and bring them all their basic necessities while they live under the parking garage. But to me, that just seems like it's just going to exacerbate the problem, not solve it.
Yeah. And a related issue with Code Blue. I remember when a homeless person died from the elements. Was that 3, 4, 5 years ago? Probably even longer.
I remember
that was horrible. Horrible. They found her frozen outside of a building.
Yeah, Joanne Yepsen was the mayor, because I remember talking to Mayor Yepsen about that, about how she actually knew the lady, and yeah, it's not about showing compassion. I think you and I agree that people should not be starving and dying on the streets, but there's a big all right. How do we get them the services they need while not? I think the thing is enabling. Right. It comes down to are you enabling people to continue this lifestyle, or are you helping them to get better?
Yes. What's happened here in Saratoga, and the reason, and you mentioned earlier, Saratoga is a magnet for everybody, whether you're a billionaire or a homeless person. It's a magnet, and the homeless here are very important people. Even if it's negative attention being directed to them. Down in Albany, the homeless. I worked in Albany. See homeless people every day. It was just part of the fabric of the city. It's been that way for decades. Here, with the recent influx of the volume of homeless people, they've become very important here. Whereas in Albany, I don't want to say they're not important in Albany, but they're not getting the focused attention that they're getting here. And I'm almost does that feed into the problem again? Do more homeless people come because you're important when you're here, even if it's negative? Yeah. And when I say important, I mean politically, it's the topic of the year. In essence, the homeless should be important in that we address their issues, and we make sure they don't freeze to death and starve to death and get the help they need. But it's more focused here than anywhere I know of.
Yeah. Did you watch more of the city council?
I didn't when I left. No, but I understand. I'll give Steve Thurston from Foothills Business Daily credit. Steve's there early and he stayed late, and he contacted me and told me about a little scuffle. The scuffle of the night. There's every night there's a verbal scuffle, and apparently there was one. Did you catch that?
Yeah. Well, so Commissioner of the Counts Dylan Moran and Mayor Ron Kim right now are not seeing eye to eye. I think it's putting it politely, and there's a lot of back and forth between them. And you can kind of see teams forming on the city council where it seems like, Jim Montanino will rubber stamp anything Ron Kim says. Yeah. Jason Gola, boy, it's got to be tough for him because he's running the election right now. Yeah. But he kind of stays, tries to stay as neutral. And then Commissioner Shangvi, she will most of the time back Ron Kim in Mayor Kim's, when votes are needed or opinions are being expressed. But one thing Commissioner Shangvi did, which I didn't agree with, is that the scuffle game. What essentially happened is the risk and safety manager, and we've talked about this before, was moved from accounts to the mayor's office, right? And essentially, this is Robin. This is where she comes is a great help because she really knows the specificities of city council. But essentially, what happened was the job title went to the mayor's office, but the salary never did. So Commissioner Moran wanted to use that salary that was in his budget for outside counsel, right? Because like we talked about before, the city does not have a full-time dedicated attorney. The Commissioner Moran doesn't feel comfortable going to, the mayor or even Tony Izzo, I think, for unbiased legal advice. So what this issue was this line item bringing the money over for the salary was essentially missed. And this happens in the finance department. And I got to know, during my run for Commissioner of Finance, I got to meet the people in the finance department. It was, these are dedicated City Hall employees. And Commissioner Shanevy in the meeting called out. Now, she didn't use anybody's names, but she called out people in her office for making a mistake. She said, will they take full responsibility for this? And for me as a leader or somebody's, I use the terms we, us, I, she, he, that. I mean, if Manita wants to talk about pronouns, let's talk about your team, right? If something comes out of your office, she does not take full responsibility. The buck stops with you. This is your department. You could say we take full responsibility, or you're the leader. You take, but it was just such a petty, throw somebody under the bus. Yeah. So it kind of move that it just really rubbed me the wrong way that especially this city council ran on being inclusive and caring, and Manito wanted to set aside money for people's birthday party, but you keep the reports we keep on getting out of City Hall. It's just a toxic work environment there, which is really a shame, but it is what it is.
Yeah, with the exception of Ron Kim, they're all novices at being city council members. And they're finding, in some cases it's understandable. In some cases they're not learning.
Yeah, it's not only that. It's I call it organizational people, right? People who have kind of, and I could be wrong, but Manita's a college professor, right? She doesn't run an organization. She doesn't have. Jim Montanino was an attorney. He was a judge at some point. But again, these are not organizational people in the sense of the professionals, but not organizational people. And organizations that I consider the finance department an organization that has to be run as such. You can't run a me first. You're my underlings kind of way, or at least I would have run it that way. Now, again, Manita beat me. She got more votes. Maybe that is the right way to run it. But I kind of took issue with the way that was handled. And
and I am a fan of Commissioner Sungvi, and Bruce. You said he gave us a comment here. So but it doesn't mean she's flawless. And I understand your point, and I concur with it. But I've seen all of these, including Ron Kim, even though he is experienced on the city council, just make some mistakes. We hope those are mistakes they learn from and that they don't repeat them. They've got more than half the term left, although it's going by quickly. At this time next year, there's going to be heated elections going on.
Yeah, I'll say that it's funny because I've got during the elections, the Democrats were the enemy. Right. And I've gotten to know them over the last year. And as people, I really like them as people. Mayor Kim, I've seen him at multiple things. I've always had kind words with him. He's always been very kind to me. It's the same with Commissioner Moran. I just wish, and this is not unique to this city council. We've seen it in other ones. But you just wish they'd get up there and have more of a, hey, guys, we're on the same team. We can have our arguments and but the feuds that arrive, and then the pettiness almost, it just seems like you wish they could just, hey, take a step back, take a deep breath, say, listen, we're making $14,000, $500, $14,500 a year for these positions. We're in this, nobody's gonna parlay this into $1 million consulting gig. let's work together a little more and a little less of the back and forth.
Yeah, and I'm disappointed with the other three, meaning not Mayor Kim and not Commissioner Moran, for not ganging up on the other two and say knock this off. But because of the alignments you mentioned, I think that's part of the reason. Everyone, people take sides, if you will. I wish they'd be neutral, at least on this fight, this continuing. I don't want to say vendetta, but continuing animosity where they're going head to head and just picking at each other.
Yeah.
I wish they'd gang up on them and say, knock this off. We all look like jerks for this happening, and it's dysfunctional, and it reflects on the entire city council. And, maybe they are. Maybe they tried and failed. I don't know. We wouldn't know about it unless we heard it through the grapevine, which, we certainly do hear things. But that's where my head's at on that.
Yeah. Well,
do you want to transition out?
Yeah, I think we'll transition out. I think the big takeaway from this, and if you have an opinion on this homelessness issue and aggressive panhandling, go to City Hall. I think it's either 6:30 or 7 on October 18th, and just speak your 2 minutes and let it be heard. Because if you don't talk, then the other side will. And your voice won't be heard. So October 18th is the public hearing on the homelessness and the aggressive panhandling in Saratoga.
And if you can't make it, you're out of town or whatever, you can certainly watch it online. At least you'll be informed. It's not easy to find on the city website. You really got to hunt and peck to find the live feed, but it is there. We should probably in one of the shows make sure we show people how to do that, because it's just not intuitive.
Yeah, and I would coming from I haven't, not being involved in politics at all or watching city councils. The first 30 minutes, 45 minutes of city council meetings are usually pretty entertaining because that's public comment, and so if nothing else, just on a Tuesday night, if you're bored, hop on and just see what the public's talking about.
They're not dull. Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. And then to see Mayor Kim, who I think does a decent job of try to balance being respectful with being in control. Some people criticize him not doing enough, blah, blah, blah. It's hard. It's hard. All five of them, you mentioned the pay. You couldn't pay me enough to do those jobs right now at this stage of my life. So I as much as we criticize them at times, God bless them for doing the job they do, and they should be. We'll criticize at times, but they should be generally applauded for putting the time in, because they're certainly not getting paid much. Hey, you want to jump to cheers and jeers?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to make this my standing jeer. I'm just going to keep pounding the same fist. Gas prices in Saratoga. I've mentioned it previously, but every time I gas up, I get fired up. Folks, they're 40% cheaper down Route 50 in Ballston Spa. That 40 cents cheaper. Something smells there. Okay, people say, I've been reading. It's a formula. It's this. It's that. Well, okay, I say differently. Something smells there.
I think we have our homework cut out for us, because now Ballston Spa is Saratoga County, correct?
Yes.
There was the county voted to suspend the gas tax.
Yeah.
And the question is, now Ballston Spa being part of Saratoga County, that wouldn't affect that, but it's worth looking into. So let's look into that, and we'll come back next Tuesday.
But it's always been a big disparity. Maybe it hasn't been 40 cents. It's been a disparity for years before the gas prices spiked upwards.
All right,
so anyways, I've got a cheer, folks. The Saratoga Auto Auction that we spoke about earlier. Good for them. This is an event. People travel a long way to come to Saratoga season, after track season, after summer, to come here. It fills hotels, fills restaurants, brings people here. This is a great event. If you go to the Saratoga Auto Museum website, you can find out how to attend. And again, it's at the casino this year, not over by the Auto Museum.
The Racino, right? Not Congress Park, but the Racino.
Correct. Yes. The soccer fields over there is what Abby said. So right off of not Jefferson, off of Nelson. Well, either Jefferson or Nelson, but probably easier to get there from Nelson, depending on what direction you're coming from. But yeah, that's a cheer for me. I'm going to slip in a third cheer here. My Buffalo Bills. Oh my God, folks! If you like football that much, keep in mind they're New York's only NFL team. The other New York branded teams are actually playing Jersey, of course. It's not just that they're winning; they're absolutely fun to watch. Josh Allen. Oh, please stay healthy, Josh. He is a physical specimen. He's so fun to watch. His receivers, their defense is stout this year. I'm telling you, if you got turned off to the NFL for past years for the politics, if you're only that much into football or something, give the Bills a chance because they are fun to watch. They are New York's only team. And I'm from Buffalo. I hope they win the Super Bowl this year. And that's it. Adam, to you.
All right. Cheers. First, I want to cheers my neighbors and bar people. Bar People's a Facebook group. It's a website they go around and kind of fill people in on what's going on in the local music scene. But the block I live on Spring Street, they didn't technically close the block, but they put musicians on every other porch, and it just for 3 hours the musicians played, and people, I put out adult drinks. My neighbor was cooking hot dogs. Other neighbors the kids were selling lemonade stands, and it was just a great event. It started in COVID. I've lived in this house for 3 years. First year I've actually been able to attend, and I'm glad I did. But it was a really neat event that the public, they don't really advertise it because they don't want to get overrun, but the public's welcome to. So this time next year, stay tuned. My jeer, and I guess this, for all dog owners, you have your jeer for your dog every now and again. I got 2 dogs there. They are beagle mixes, mutts, but they're hunting dogs. And one of them just freaking mauled a baby squirrel in front of me the other day and didn't finish the job. And I have this dying squirrel, and I'm calling people to, try to get it euthanized. And it just was an asshole move by my dog. So my dog, you get the jeer today. But I wanted
this is your dog, not the neighbor's
in our
dog.
backyard. Just this is a baby squirrel sitting there. I just ran over and just started chewing on it. It was horrible. Absolutely horrible.
In fairness to your dog, he's a dog.
It's what he's bred to do. He's a hunting dog. Well, he picks up a scent, he goes. But
I've got a black lab, so I feel your pain. I pull with all my might when he sees a squirrel, and I try. My wife has these techniques to get him off the squirrel and so forth. But you got to be fast.
Yeah, and I thought he would get that squirrel softly. No, he was going to. But real quick before we end the show, and as you please, the answer to this is probably illegal, but I really wanted to take out my 22 and dispatch the squirrel, but you probably can't do that in the city limits, right?
I would think so. You're especially where you are, the density, you're in your residences.
Yeah. To my neighbors, I'm kidding. I wasn't really going to fire my gun in my backyard, but boy, watching that squirrel, I was like, do I get a hat? What I ended up doing was wanted to take it to the north. I'm going to butcher the name, but North Country Wild Care. Their name came up twice.
Rehabilitation people, yes.
And it's worth it. It's worth real quick just to get their name in there because I don't know them, but they do amazing thing. North Country Wild Care. So North Country Wild Care. It's if you have a squirrel that's having issues in your backyard, the 3 people I called all independently directed me towards them. So, there's a jeer for North Country Wild Care.
And they help birds and mammals and everything, right?
Yeah. I guess. I don't know, but they're the name that kept on coming up by this. I was going through the horror of watching a baby squirrel. Yeah. Anyway, well, sorry to leave you on that note, but Dan, appreciate you. It's fun having a show with you. We'll see you next Wednesday, right?
Yeah, exactly, Adam. I enjoy talking to you. I enjoy when all 3 of us talk. This episode, we were just able to talk, and I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right. Well, stay charming, Saratoga.
Folks, thanks for watching.